Hi, this is Janet McBride, your Septuagenarian apologist, and tonight we're going to go off the rails. That's it, because as I speak, the world is in utter chaos. So let's begin with drones. Yes, drones. They're otherwise known as UAS, unidentified aerial systems, as opposed to UAPs or UFOs. The invasion of these drones began, if you will recall, in December of 2024, and I did 3 videos on this, but to no resolution because the government just made it go away. Those now infamous drones over New Jersey spread to other areas on the East Coast, and they tormented the population for 6 weeks. Thousands of eyewitnesses claimed that they saw these drones come up out of the sea and return to the sea every night for 6 weeks. These aerial systems emerged at night and interrupted air traffic at major airports. Shockingly, the U.S. military intelligence was impotent to stop them. They couldn't jam their systems, they couldn't intercept them, and that gives me great pause. 6 months later, these mysterious drones began to assault Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, we didn't hear a lot about this on the news because it was relegated to one specific area in Dayton, Ohio, whereas the New Jersey drones went down up and down the entire East Coast. However, the interesting thing about Wright-Patterson is it's the headquarters for all ufology and science that is, and technology that is reaching into the future for things that we might have seen on Star Trek or Star Wars, 30 years ago. The centralized area of this study and intelligence of extraterrestrials is the problem. Now the mystery drones have emerged again, and this time they have come into conjunction with several unexplained events, which we will talk about tonight. But let's take a look at the drones that happened this week.
So as we've seen, the war in Ukraine is providing a real-time testing ground for nations defending against drones. But unidentified drones are also a concern here in the United States. Liz Landers is here with more on a recent incident at a military base in Louisiana.
John, the week of March 9th, a swarm of drones repeatedly hovered around Barksdale Air Force Base in northwest Louisiana. A spokesperson for the base tells PBS NewsHour that it was unauthorized and criminal activity that's now being investigated by both federal and local law enforcement. ABC News reported that the drone flights lasted 4 hours at a time, deliberately maneuvered within the airspace over the base, and appeared to be jam resistant. Barksdale is a key facility for the U.S. in the ongoing fight with Iran, housing B-52 bombers and nuclear weapons storage facilities.
This is not good, Gonky. So, well, back in the fall, where the New Jersey drones and all that stuff, this is different because this is a nuclear base. These are bombers. This is a big deal. Like, this is a critical base to have. It's not just nuclear, but B-52s, Cyber Command, all the stuff that's there. We are at war right now with a country that has a very good drone program, and our southern border is and has always been very porous. This is a threat, dude. This is a big deal.
Patterson Tower, Med Flight 8, 1,900 feet, about 7 miles southwest of the field, like transition your Delta northeastbound.
Med Flight 8 Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation. Suggest at or above 1,700 AGL.
That we will maintain 2,000 and on our transition for Med Flight 8.
And I gotta keep the lights down so that security forces can see.
Roger that, no problem.
Yes, sir. Your transition is still approved. However, Patterson Class Delta is sterilized as of 0330 Zulu for heavy unknown UAS activity. Security Forces is handling it, and Columbus is going to sterilize the airspace after you leave the Delta. All aircraft use extreme caution. Patterson Class Delta is now closed for heavy UAS activity.
At this stage of existence, there is more than just signs in the heavens creating a convergence of prophetic events. Daniel chapter 10 verse 4 says this: on the 24th day of the first month, Daniel was shown a vision. And do you know that this day marks the end of unleavened bread? If you look back into the ancient calendars on the sacred calendar, the 24th day of the first month is at the end of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. As I record this, the days of unleavened bread are beginning this evening. This is April 3rd, 2026. It's a Shabbat. And at sundown, it begins the Feast of Unleavened Bread. We've had the two Seders this week, and now we're entering into the next portion of the Passover feast. The comparable 24th day of Daniel's first month falls on April 11th, 2026, at sundown, according to tradition. Daniel was shown the vision of a man on this day. And the man was constructed of various metals corresponding to empires that would follow, and they would exist throughout history until the end of days. So let's take a closer look at Daniel's vision. Here we see a picture, an artist rendering, if you will, of what Daniel might have seen in that vision. A very large man made of several kinds of metal, representing different ages that were to come. And the first one was where Daniel himself was taken to as a child, Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar was the king of Babylon at that time. But Daniel prospered and grew there, and it became the greatest empire of all time. It also became the most wicked empire of all time, and it is represented in the vision by the head of gold. Under that was the chest of silver, representing the Medo-Persian Empire, and then Greece, Rome, and finally the 10 toes made of clay and iron. They were strong at times and weak at others, and they became divided nations. But in these last days, as the world is taking shape in the final hour, it appears as though Babylon has now shifted and become America. In April of 2026, this month of Passover, we are watching America, i.e. Babylon, is now at war with Medo-Persia, i.e. Iran. And it is now engaging and affecting economically with resources such as oil. It's affecting every country on the planet. It's becoming a global incursion. And Europe is divided not only against itself, but it's now divided against its once greatest ally, America. The Tower of Babel has been depicted many ways, but research has shown me that bronze, the metal of bronze, was prolifically mined in the land of Mesopotamia, where the Tower of Babel was built. In fact, this area, also called Babylon, later created what is called historically the Bronze Age. Because of this combination of bronze and crystalline, it is more likely that the Tower of Babel resembled a metallic crystalline structure. It was quite suitable for transmitting radio signals into the spheres. Because it was a legitimate tower of ascension, God intervened. He put an end to it. He confused the languages of the people and destroyed the tower itself. because he looked at their hearts and he saw that their hearts were on evil intentionally. It is written that God would once again intervene at the end of the age to destroy similar abominations. But as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. For as in the days of Noah, before the flood, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage. They were reveling until the flood came and took them all away. They were not watching and being vigilant as we are commanded to do. And so shall it be when our Messiah, Jesus, comes to the earth again. While the earth is on the verge of global war, the descendants of Babylon have not lost sight of their satanic agenda. 21st century Babylon is at war with Persia as I speak. And on the very eve of Passover, April 1st, 2026, NASA launched Artemis into space to return, as they say, to the moon after 50 some years. Artemis is Greek for the goddess of the moon. And she weaves her magical web at appointed times in history. She was worshipped in Babylon. She was greatly adored because she brought forth fertility and riches and pleasures of all kinds. Not only did Project Artemis launch at the first Seder Passover meal this year, the launch window itself is very specific and very interesting to observe. The launch window occurred at Cape Canaveral in Florida at exactly 6:24 p.m. Eastern Time. At that exact moment, the sun was setting in the country of Iraq. And if you will recall from Daniel's metallic man, Iraq was formerly called Babylon. So the plan of the satanic global worshipers was that Artemis, the moon goddess, would begin to be worshipped exactly in Babylon when Passover began around the world. That isn't coincidence. Artemis of American Babylon is the modern-day Tower of Babel. And the God of Noah himself is watching. Shalom.